think we do have a quorum. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have a quorum. So why don't we get started, okay? I'm going to read the opening requirement. On March 29th, 2023, Governor Healy signed into law an act relative to extending certain state of emergency accommodations, which among others extends the expiration of the provisions pertaining to the open meeting law to March 31st, 2025. Specifically, this extension allows remote and hybrid meeting options for public bodies through March 31st, 2025, without a quorum of the public body physically present at a meeting location, and to provide adequate alternative access to remote meetings. The act does not make any new changes to the open meeting law other than extending the expiration date of the temporary provisions regarding remote meetings to March 31st, 2025. So we have five people physically present and one remote, so we do have a quorum. So with that, I'll call the meeting to order, and we have to vote on the previous minutes. So let's first go with May 7th minutes. Any questions, comments?
Jack, who's participating remotely? Just so I can.
Sorry?
Who's participating remotely? Who's participating remotely?
Jeff.
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 Matt is also on remote.
Okay.
Thanks.
I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes from May 7th.
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Fortunately, we have to go around the room. Bridget?
Yes. Abstain.
Jenna?
Yes.
Joe? I'm a yes. Dino?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Okay, unanimous. Okay, meeting minutes from June 4th. Questions, comments, concerns? I'll entertain a motion to accept.
Motion to accept?
Second? Second. Okay, going around the room, Bridget?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
I'm a yes.
Yes.
Dino? Jeff?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Moving on, Kate, want to talk about the construction update?
Yep. So you have received via email last week, I believe, the 90% CD estimate. So the documents came out, we got our estimate back on the last Friday in June, and we had our reconciliation on July 1st. And the 90% CD estimate, the reconciled number, which includes all of the 6 priority items from the field house through the greenhouse, all are under the construction budget now. So the 90% estimate came in at $29,910,442. Just a reminder, our construction budget is $29,269,065. That being said, we did break out the driveway extension as an add alternate, in addition to the Plimpton parking lot that was previously broken out and the add trees, shrubs, and plantings that was broken out. So the reason that the numbers went down significantly was because of the VE effort and what was captured through the VE that was recommended by TAP-A that had minimal impact on the program, but we were able to capture some of those items to bring the budget down and get all of the program and all of the priorities within the base. Any questions on the 90% estimate?
What is the budget? What is the budget for the project with all of the alternates in it?
The construction budget is the $29,269,000, the number that's up here.
Got it. So without alternates 1, 2, and 3, we are under budget.
Correct.
With alternates 1, 2, and 3, we are over budget
Correct.
by about $1 million.
Yep.
Okay. And the order the alternates was determined how and by who?
So the school committee reviewed, they met and reviewed the alternates. They had previously voted the priority list of the 1 through 6 for the greenhouse. And then they reviewed the alternates and voted the alternates. So alternate 1 being the new Plimpton parking lot, alternate 2 being the added trees, shrubs, alternate 3, the driveway extension.
Got it. And the driveway extension now is it as comprehensive as it was originally planned?
Chris, do you want to talk through the driveway extension piece?
Yeah, I think it's,
Do you have a drawing of it?
Matt just sent it.
Is it the,
Yeah, the driveway extension scope would include everything from, so the alternate is, you take the roadway in and you go right. It's kind of a curve right and up. The alternate is everything basically in here.
I
That
see.
would change, and it's all that parking, and it would create a new entry that the buses
Got
would
it.
come in and turn left, and then this entry would be blocked off.
Got it. So, the alternate 3 with the driveway extension for 626K moves or creates a new curb cut, extends that
The base project
road?
creates a new curb cut.
Oh,
The base project creates this curb cut right here.
oh, it does?
Yes.
Okay,
And the alternate 3 would then close this curb cut, but if nothing happens with the alternate, then you've got the 2 curb cuts.
oh, I see. Okay, so the base project includes a new curb cut
Yes.
and some new drive and
Yeah.
some new parking?
Yep, no new parking
Okay, no
on
new
this end.
parking.
It's just the driveway that comes around like that.
Oh, I see. Thank you, Chris.
To get a better sight distance to the hill as Common
Okay.
Street goes up.
So none of that other work gets involved unless we exercise alternate number 3?
Correct.
Got it. I
Chris,
see.
how many parking spaces do we lose if we don't do alternate 3?
Good question.
Uh,
It's minimal. Is it like 15 or something like that?
It's, if you don't, can I phrase it differently? If you do alternate 3, you gain,
Okay.
it's,
Chris, what is the gain by alternate 3, though? Because we heard the priorities from the school, from the high school principal on the working group, and it was clear, it's, parking, additional parking is it, so. I understand Plimpton, you're getting a lot more parking spaces, it's 35 or 40 spots, but still, even alternate 3 did have a benefit of increasing parking.
correct.
So it looks like there's 28 new parking spaces. I can answer that question. And then also one of the concerns here was the double stacking of the buses that they currently need to kind of do in this area. And then doing this driveway extension helps safety-wise, eliminating the double buses from being stacked and the children from passing in front of the other buses. I'll let you chime in on the rest, Chris.
Sorry, did you say 28 new spots by the driveway extension?
Yes, that's what's marked. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yes.
I think your parking starts down here, outside of, this is all grass. Then there's a curb at the sidewalk, and then the parking starts on where the sign is.
Mhm.
The parking starts on the right side of the sign. Okay. So this really isn't a complete ad, there's no existing parking in that spot.
So Chris, to phrase it the way you would like to phrase it, if we were to do alternate 3, we would gain 28 parking spaces.
Yes.
Okay.
And I mean, by the order of the alternate, that appears to be the lowest priority in terms of what the school requirements are, correct? Okay.
I guess to that point, though, the school requirement we heard on Tuesday was increasing parking. So I'm still unsure as to why alternate 3 was deprioritized over, trees and shrubs. If we're gaining 28 spots on that, and we're increasing safety, being able to get buses off a common street quicker.
Jen?
Yeah, I'm happy to weigh in on that. So we looked at the pricing, and for the new Plimpton parking lot for 578, 786, you're gaining more
More
parking
spaces.
spaces
Right.
compared with the driveway extension, which is over 600,000, And additionally, you're gonna be moving, there's a hydrant there, a retaining wall, so it's pretty expensive to put that in. And we didn't think that we were getting that much value compared to the parking lot that we would put in front of Plimpton.
So if your goal is parking, you're getting more for the
Bang for the buck
Plimpton
with Plimpton.
parking lot for the buck than you would for the driveway extension. Yeah, it makes
Correct.
total sense. Yeah.
While I agree with that sentiment, you are gaining additional benefits by alternate 3 as well.
Correct, and in an ideal world with unlimited funds, that would be a consideration, but given that we had to prioritize, we chose the Plimpton parking lot because we were getting more out of that. And there were also some
Completely
concerns.
agree with Plimpton parking lot. But I'm of the belief that alternate 3 should be moved up.
And I think the question is the value of trees and shrubs over the driveway extension. Do you guys have any comment on how that was arrived at?
I mean, in general, I would say curb appeal from trees.
Well, we talked about this at the working group last week, and one of the things that came out of it was that it was strictly a cost issue, okay? But I think the point that Jeff is making, and I think there's a lot of good sentiment to it, is that for about $20,000 per parking space, you're gonna get an additional 28 parking spaces. Where for Plimpton, I think it's more like $16,000 per parking space. So the incremental cost of the parking is basically the same as Plimpton, it's just you're getting more parking by going with alternate 3.
No, you're getting more parking by alternate 1 than you are by alternate 3.
No, there's nothing to keep us from doing both alternate 1 and alternate 3.
I agree. It's just a question of where do you want to spend your money? What's most important? That's all. And by the way, there's a budget. By the way, even if we exercise any of these alternates, it puts us over budget.
Right.
At this point, yes.
With the depending on, yeah, right, depending on what the actual bids.
Well, precisely. But I mean, exercise any one of them, if the bids come in as projected, we are over budget.
Yeah, and I think the additional concerns that I heard when I spoke to different members of the PBC was that there wasn't a real traffic study done, and there may be less value to driveway extension and adding that piece, given, a curb cut and turning in there, that people weren't really sure that was gonna gain that much from a traffic flow perspective, which was one of the things they were originally looking at. So the Plimpton parking lot just seemed like cheaper parking.
It is
And,
cheaper.
Yeah, there were less concerns
I-
with it.
I think we all agree Plimpton is number 1 from an alternate standpoint. I don't think there's any argument there. I think it's that, I think the driveway extension is a better option in number 2 than the trees and shrubs. We're gaining parking, we're getting buses off of Common Street, not worried about double stacking. Somebody raised a concern about pedestrian traffic and students walking in front of buses.
It's a better option if you can afford it.
Again, these alternates are only gonna get exercised in order if we have the money.
Correct, but let's say you get to exercise alternate number 1. How close do you think you're going to be to your budget, Jeff? Do you ever think you'll be close enough to be able to exercise alternate number 3?
That's a risk that we have to basically evaluate and decide, do we want to take it? Do we want to, if we have enough money to exercise option 1, but we don't have enough money to exercise option 2 or 3, will we have enough money to option 1 of them? And what do we think is going to happen when we go put it out to bid?
Well, we don't know.
We don't know.
How much contingency is in the construction estimate now?
What is it, 10%?
12 and a half.
6.6.
Well, I've heard 3 numbers now, 10, 6, and 12.
Did you read the memo? It's right there.
No,
It's on
I
the
didn't
memo.
read the memo. So 12.5% at this point. I mean, Kate, do you feel that's an appropriate number to have?
I mean, we have the estimate from the estimators, and we're doing a renovation that's hard bid. So, I mean, I think at least 10%, and now we're holding 12%. I think that's the correct number.
Well, I know it's a renovation and no one knows what we don't know. I mean, but one typically presumes that when you have 90% documents, you know, a lot of stuff should be owned on the documents. And that typically means you can have some leeway with how much contingency you provide.
Yeah, but we're not doing exploratory work, we're not ripping open walls, ceilings, and doing demo
Agreed.
to understand what's behind those walls, so.
Agreed, I understand that, but
Right.
12.5% is a pretty hefty contingency, too.
Well, I'll speak up. I made it 12.5%. I'm the one who did it, because when I was putting together these estimates on our end, they actually recommended 10%. I wanted the numbers to balance out evenly.
How does that balance out evenly? I don't understand what that means.
I'll explain it to you. It's right in front of you. The memo I put together dated July 2nd, which you just said you hadn't read, explains the numbers, the revenues and the expenditures on this project. It's about a $20 difference on that, so it balances out at the end there. Again, this is estimates. We don't know what the numbers are gonna come in at. I am a very conservative person when it comes to numbers here and money in this town. And I'm pretty comfortable with what's being presented right there as far as the revenues and the expenditures portion of this budget.
So what is the actual contingency amount? If it's a
It's right
12.5%,
The dollar amount right in front of you.
what is the dollar amount, Jim?
3.6 million.
3.6?
Can I see?
Sure, thank you,
I gave
Patrick.
this to you twice.
Thank you, Jim.
$3,662,374.
So we have 3.6 million in contingency in that $29 million figure. Wow. It's very generous, Jim.
So I would say you don't need to award the contingency.
I like to
bid
call it
today.
conservative.
Yeah, that's one word you could use. Yes, conservative is one word you could use.
One possible way to look at this is that increase from 10 to 12.5%. That's about $500,000.
Which
in
is
round
alternate
numbers,
3.
which would take care of alternate 2 and 3, as you said. So, to my mind, I think that the risk is fairly small, that we won't be able to cover all 3. However, if we can't cover all 3, to my mind, what I'm thinking and I'm hearing is that the parking should be a high priority as opposed to landscaping. Landscaping, you can always pull in later on in different ways. Parking, this is basically, you gotta decide now, or you're kind of locked into it forever.
Well, I'm agnostic because I haven't been involved in the discussions at all about how these priorities were established, so I have no opinion.
I think it's, if I could speak, the decision was made based on the dollar amount also. I mean, we're also looking at the fact that it's a smaller dollar amount for the, and if given a priority, I would put the trees and shrubs in before extending the driveway at this point.
Sir, would you,
I would put the trees and shrubs in before extending the driveway. I don't have a concern about the safety of stacking buses. We stack buses right now 2 by 2. The only time that buses are stacked are at dismissal time for about 5 or 10 minutes. They're stopped. Those buses are stopped until such time as they all leave together. So, you know, if there were a safety concern, I would have put that number 1. I would have suggested to the school committee to prioritize that number 1. I don't have that concern, especially with everything else in the scope of this that is being done to get the parent cars around the back of the building. That is the key piece for safety for me.
how about the additional parking, though?
The additional parking is, I would be delighted to get that additional parking. I'm very hopeful that all 3 of these alternates get funded. But I would still prioritize them as they are there if it were my choice.
So you're saying if you had to choose between option 2 and option 3, you would choose the bushes and the trees as opposed to the 28 parking spaces.
If they were both the same amount of money, I'd choose extending the driveway.
Okay.
But they're not. It's a much less significant amount of money. That plays into the decision as well.
Sure.
Can you just explain, and so just to clarify, where the FF&E, because we know that's gonna be coming down the road, and I know that's sometimes a concern from some of us in school committee members, in terms of where contingency may or may not be used or can be used for that, because I know that there's only so much of a bucket that's set aside for technology and very little for furniture. And, we don't need, in a way, grabbing that and then having to come back and ask Jim for capital, for this project.
Yep, so,
You wanna try that, Kate?
yeah.
Okay.
So just like the middle school project, we're talking construction costs only within the numbers in front of you. Jim touched base on the construction contingency from the owner's side, which is not within that 29 million, that's down below. But we have additional soft costs that we've accounted for within the overall project budget. The overall project budget is 39.2 million. So, the construction is the 29.2 million, and then there's other soft costs within here. We have holds in our overall project budget within the soft costs for FF&E, which is furnishings, fixtures, and equipment, phones, AV, computers, technology, and security. So that totals $650,000, which is, again, not within this construction budget. So typically, that the owner, we work with the consultants and the department heads and go through what is needed in each classroom, and that is purchased separately through our soft costs at a later date after the GC is on board towards the end of the project. If we go over budget on the furnitures, fixtures, and equipment, that is when we meet as a committee and decide if we want to dip into the owner's construction contingency or the owner's contingency and move money from the contingency up to the furnitures, fixtures, and equipment. So I know that the science room tables are something that have come up previously. They were on the VE list, so they are not in the base contract right now. But that is something that we have bought on other projects through the FF&E line item. So that is something that could be bought through FF&E and moved money up if everybody felt comfortable doing that.
Well, that contingency is available for any line item in the project, is it, or is it not?
Well, we have the owner's construction contingency
Yes.
and then the owner's contingency. So
Okay.
for like soft costs, typically, it's just logistics, we would dip into the owner's contingency line item and the change orders would come out of the owner's construction contingency line item.
So what is the owner's construction contingency?
So since
Is that the
this budget,
3.6 billion?
that is
Or
the
million?
combination of the owner's construction contingency and the owner's
So it's
contingency
the
in
sum
that
of
3
two
within that.
contingencies.
Yes.
So, and how does that break down?
Well, I haven't gone back and reconciled our previous budget to what Jim issued in this memo, but when we were holding the 10%, and now we have a little bit more, the construction contingency was 2.4 million, and the owner's project contingency was 609,000.
That's only 3 million.
Sorry, I
Right,
think
but
you were
now it
addressing
is
the
an
Superintendent's question about FF&E,
increased.
right?
Just at FF&E where that would come
Yeah,
out, 'cause I know
the
that
owner's,
we've got
the
some questions.
construction contingency,
Okay.
yes.
So if I understand Bridget's question correctly, the answer is there's 650,000 dedicated to it as a line item, and in addition to that, there's owner's contingency that can be allocated to it.
Correct.
Up to,
If the owner's contingency, because there's the two buckets that
Right.
combine to the 3.6. If we run out of the owner's contingency, then that'll come out of the owner's construction contingency. So it's all within that 3.6. It's just how we do it in our budget, in our office with financials.
Jim, let me ask you a question from an accounting perspective. Let's suppose we go ahead and we get bids in, and we're over by, with the base plus the 3 alternates, we're over by, say, $250,000. We could go ahead and award those, but
It's
we
the
would have to transfer money from contingency to the base contract, right?
You wouldn't have it. What is in front of you is that 12.68% is a number that Kate and Vertex break it down as owner's contingency. I just lump it all together as one. The right way to do it is the way they break it out.
Right, into two categories.
But as far as that's concerned, we'd really have to look at it. And could we dip into contingency a little bit? I wouldn't, go much below the 10% if we were to dip into it, because there's conditions there that we might not know inside. I always use the example on the fire station. When we built that, there was an oil tank that we dug up that was buried. We never knew any idea about it. We had enough information there, but we could dip into that a little bit.
To award it, Jim, you mean like,
To award it, because our requirement under Mass General Law is to award a contract. We have to have the cash on hand. The finance director won't sign off on it. Contingency isn't part of the project overall. The actual award that the select board, the number, let's call it 20 million. They have to have 20 million available. The 2 million over here for the contingency isn't part of the contract at all. It's just to protect us, so. And there's other, if it went way over, and again, I don't want to take any authority away from this committee, but I would also, as a select board's the appointing authority, I'd run everything by them too. It depends on what they're comfortable with too. If all the alternates come in at $7 million and the base is 20, I want to make sure everybody's comfortable with this.
No, I hear that, but I just want to make sure that if there's a slight difference, that we could cover it by contingency. And from an accounting perspective, how would that happen? Who would transfer that money from contingency
It's not being transferred from anywhere. It's all in one big budget.
on one big budget?
It's gonna be
And
one.
Does it require
we're
town meeting
taking-
action?
No, it's actually, when you add in all the old capital, it's 7 different
Yeah, I remember.
items we're picking from, and it goes from probably 20 accounts all the way down to one account by the time town meeting's said and done. And that one account's gonna have $38 million in it or something like that.
I have another question about awarding the alternates, Kate. So when the numbers come in, each of these bidders will submit a number for each alternate. Do we have to, at awarding the contract, select the alternates we will exercise?
Yes,
And we need to do that at award of contract
in order,
in order?
yes.
Okay.
So one bidder might be low, but if you get the second bidder, his alternate number one is low, then it's gonna, whoever alternates we take, we gotta take that apparent low bidder.
Of course.
If
So
you-
that decision is made about which alternates we which alternates we exercise at award of contract.
Yep, after the bids are due, yep.
If you bring additional work, if you don't take an alternate and then look at bringing it in through a change order,
Yeah.
there will be about like 30% markup on it.
Sure, because there's no competitive bidding going on.
Identified as an
at that
alternate, I don't think we can do it as a change order.
We could do it later on, but
I don't think
to your
so.
point, it's, the
You
numbers.
can't do
gonna
it
be
later,
bigger.
I think, once it's an alternate, you can't decide not to take the alternates and then do it later, because if the low bidder wasn't low at the bid time, depending on the alternates, so you could take out alternate 3 and leave it off the table, and potentially do that down the road as a change order, if there's money in the budget, but, I think once it's identified as an alternate, you don't take it, you can't bring it back in.
Understood. Understood, thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? All right, you're looking for,
Sorry.
I'm sorry, Jen.
Just one more to touch on the FF&E part. We had a lot of discussion at school committee about, our priorities in terms of making sure we were getting the equipment and getting the spaces equipped. And I know you can't put it in order on there, but it was my understanding we'd have discussions before, we went down to all these to make sure that, say, we were getting the science tables and stuff, and that there would be enough money for that. So that was a lot of our discussion, was just making sure the rooms were gonna be well-equipped and that we weren't building this driveway extension or even putting trees in before making sure the kids have desks and seats,
Well, to that point, do the drawings now include all of the FF&E that you expect to have?
But we took out some of it.
We diagrammatically show FF&E, but it's not, you're not bidding FF&E right now, you bid it
Yep,
a
so
year and a half from now.
But the drawings now represent the kind of needs and wants you guys have identified and requested?
They show diagrammatically what they want, but it's not captured in the budget. There's parts of it that are not captured.
So project does move forward,
I understand, but I'm trying to understand the words you use. When you say diagram, to me, that means not very specific. When I ask folks, do they have everything they need, to me, that generally means it's specific and precise.
yeah, so right now, once, if the job does move forward, Chris and his team will meet with the school departments to go through that and program that FF&E.
So
Right
it
now, we
hasn't
have
been
not
done
That's
to date.
correct.
It
Well,
has,
not-
it has been done. And I stand by the fact that what's shown in the drawings is what the science department, is what the school has told us through multiple rounds of programming in furniture.
Perfect.
But it shows up as a dashed line and says not in contract.
Understood, but somehow, Chris,
That's a
you
diagram.
you and your people have captured the needs and requirements that the school committee has for FF&E, and you've documented it somehow
As a diagram, yes.
as a diagram. Okay.
What else to say? It's not being purchased.
Before we vote, this was the discussion, we've been focusing right now on the three alternatives. Is there any question on the VE? Because I know,
Where did we end up with VE? What's
have
been
that to bring up?
changed as a result of the VE process?
right there,
Yep, so this was emailed out to the committee last week. Everything in green has been accepted as a VE item and reflected in the 90%, so it's been taken out, which is why the numbers came down so significantly. The items in orange are still in the 90% set. I'll zoom out so we can see the key a little bit. So, for example, the science cord reels are still within the science rooms and in the 90%, so that's in the base scope. The eliminate folding walls for the science breakout room, that is still in the drawings in the 90% set, so in the base bid. Change ceilings in science rooms to ACT in lieu of the spray acoustical treatment, that is still, we still have what was requested in the base contract. And then eliminate new cameras in the addition, that is still within the base contract. The other two camera items that were taken, so eliminate new cameras in renovation, eliminate site cameras. The infrastructure will still be put in place for those cameras. It's the cameras themselves that are not currently within the base scope, so that could easily be purchased at a later date. But everything in green was captured, which is why the numbers came down significantly. And then the orange item put trees into an add alternate, which is the shrubs. That was the alternate we were discussing.
What does look at soil removal mean?
So that is, instead of trucking soil off-site, there was significant savings to displacing it on-site.
Oh, cool. There's place for it?
Yep, we're working through it with Niche.
That's very nice. That's a big savings. Good job.
so is there any questions on the VE?
Did we ever see what the new panel is that Tepe recommends we substitute for a savings of $354,000?
It's a brick, it'll be a brick material that follows the same color as what the proposed panels were.
Is it panelized brick, Chris, or is it real masonry?
Real brick.
Real masonry. And that's cheaper than the metal panels that were originally? Wow.
Every project, brick is cheaper than metal panel.
No kidding. That's big. Good job.
Anything else on the VE list? All right, Kate, you're looking for a vote, right?
Yeah, we're looking for a vote, that language is at the bottom.
Yeah. I'm gonna suggest we take perhaps two votes, one to vote on the VE list, and then one to vote on the alternates. Is that acceptable to everybody?
Sure.
So, I would take a motion to accept the VE list as is presented up there, well, was up there. Okay,
So moved.
Second.
second? Okay. All those in favor, well, got everyone on the table. Bridget?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Yes. Joe? I'm yes.
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Okay, all right. And then for the alternatives, the discussion seemed to
If
be
I
on
may,
what- Sorry, Jeff?
if I may, I would make a motion to prioritize the alternates as the Plimpton parking lot, the driveway extension, shrubs and trees in that order.
So both, basically to shift alternate 2 and alternate 3?
Yes.
Okay, do I have a second? I'll second. Okay, any discussion, further discussion? All right. Around the room, Bridget?
No,
No,
Joe? Yes.
Abstain.
Jeff?
Yes.
Okay, so I think we have 3, 2, 1. Sorry, 2, 3, 1. So the motion did not carry. Another motion?
motion to move for the alternate.
Wait, hold on. Can you read the count? I thought we had three yeses.
There were 3 noes, 2 yeses, and 1 abstain. So your motion did not carry. And right now, we have a motion to, for the 3 alternates in the order of, on the original order, 1, 2, and 3, Plimpton, trees, and the driveway extension.
As listed in the
Okay.
packet, correct?
Do we have a second?
Second.
Joe, you seconded?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Any further discussion? Going around the room, Bridget?
yes,
Yes.
Yes.
Abstain.
Abstain.
Jeff? Jeff, you there?
Oh, we lost him.
I guess not.
Is he still on?
Is he still on?
He disconnected, Patrick said.
All right, so we have 302. Okay. Work plan review, Kate?
So sorry, can we also vote to establish the base bid? I don't think, I know you approved the VE list, but can we,
Jeff
on the
is back.
agenda is the vote to establish the base bid too.
Okay, so the,
Hey, can you hear me?
now we can. How do you want to vote?
What was the vote on the alternate?
On your vote?
'Cause I
On
still-
your vote?
I
Your-
thought I heard 3 favorable.
Okay, on your,
I asked you to redo
on your motion,
asked
it
you-
was 3 no, 2 yes, 1 abstention.
Can you call out the votes?
Okay,
Who was-
then the
who was
second,
what?
okay, then the second motion was to go with the original order, and that came around to you and you got disconnected. So what's your vote?
No.
Okay, so it's 3, 1, 2. Patrick, what's this next motion supposed to be?
It's just to establish the base bid with the scope that's listed, kind of, with the scope that's listed. So items 1 through 6, included in the base bid essentially.
So
What's the number that we're voting on?
The budget is that the 29,
Yeah, you don't need the-
269?
Yeah, you don't need the budget, it's just
To vote
establish
that
that
all
as the
of
base.
these 6
the base
items
bid.
are in the base bid.
Okay. All right, I'll take a motion that all 6 items, 1 through 6 as delineated here, the field house addition, the site work driveway extension, music multipurpose rooms, counseling student support services renovation, science wing renovation, greenhouse addition, in that order of 1 through 6, that becomes the base bid. Could I have someone make a motion?
So moved.
Second?
second,
All those in, sorry, Brenda?
yes,
Jen?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
I'm yes.
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Okay. Okay, you're up with, work plan review?
Chris, you want to talk through? You want to just grab a microphone?
So you can have it, yeah.
All right, so the month of June has been quite busy, and the first couple weeks here in July have been even more busy. And so you can see the work plan here. The plan is to issue the bid documents next Tuesday on the 17th. It's worth noting that we had the conservation meeting last night that was opened and closed in the same meeting, so that's successfully behind us in terms of the land disturbance permit. So moving right along, we issue the documents on the 17th. We will continue to work through bidder questions and any addendized scope that the consultants and engineers and architects find might be missing and unclear in the documents. So we do have planned a couple of addenda that will coincide with the filed subbid and then later the general contractor's bid, because we'll need to at least issue one addenda to the general contractors showing the filed subbid results. So that's really the sort of course of action right now, is to get through the next, I think it's about 6 weeks or 8 weeks or so. The filed subbids open on August, help me, 9th. And then the general bids open on August 23rd. And so that's when we'll know the number, and hopefully everything comes out like we're planned. So that's really our work plan, I guess, right now. Is there any other questions on work plan, or?
Couple things, Chris.
Yes.
Are you comfortable you can make the 17th? That's 4 business days.
We're printing right now, so we're done.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think the documents are in really good condition, so.
Does this committee need to approve the bid package before it's actually issued?
No. That's why the previous vote on scope, you established that the scope is that, and our documents match that. So that's your job, and then our job is to give you that scope and send it to bid, so.
So I think to answer your question too, I talked to Kate about this. There's not really a need, as far as we are aware of, for this committee to meet till we actually get the bid docs back, right, Kate?
Yeah, the only thing would just
No
be
action.
voting vendor invoice
Invoicing.
packages, but I think we don't, early September would be fine, yeah.
And one thing I hate to bring up, Jim, I think you answered it in an email late this afternoon. As far as the abutter, is that issue kind of gone away?
It hasn't gone away, but he raised his concerns earlier this week. Chris actually put together something very quickly showing that we could make it work and leave a 20-foot opening there. Patrick and I had a conversation with him yesterday. I think I'm just probably gonna go out and meet with him on site and have the engineering or these guys mark out where the 20-foot would be so he could actually visualize it, so.
Where is he located, Jim?
You know, that secondary driveway where it's like one way in only, if you're coming up Common Street right before the high school, it's on the right. He's the one who shares the driveway with the town right there. The town owns most of the land, but, you know, and I said to him, we want to be fair, and he said, thank you, and so we're gonna work on a solution. I'm pretty confident.
Okay, all right.
If we can't, well, obviously, I told him, I said, as the road commissioners,
So
it's gonna be.
are we looking to give him an easement, or?
No, he currently uses it, and we're looking to see what we can do to make it so it's not as complicated with involving the easement, but if, I've mentioned that to him. If we need to involve legal, he'll have to get an attorney and everything and go that route, but if we can keep it simple, we're trying to keep it as simple as possible.
I know the town engineer in in the email thread had suggested, not suggested, but said one possibility was to put a locked fence in.
I suggested that, yeah, because there's a gate currently right there right now, but Chris did a great job drawing up something that aesthetically looks pleasing, I think, and it will work. So Kate has it up right there.
I'd have some concerns about putting in a lock gate.
Yeah. You move that over, Kate, a little bit?
I'm not sure, I have it in a weird program right now.
There's currently a gate up that road, probably, 30, 40 feet
Yep.
on the property. And my concern, probably similar to, I'm guessing what yours would be, is that if we don't close that opening through this project, at least a little bit, that people will inherently go pull into that, get to the locked gate, and then have to do a K-turn into this guy's driveway and make it even worse condition than what we are proposing.
Where that thick black line is
Yeah.
where the
The
town
property line is. And so we were showing in that diagram, the curb, it's not dimensioned anywhere, but graphically, we were showing that curb as about 17 feet, 6 inches from the abutter's stone wall. It's actually kind of a three-dimensional extrusion on the right side of that 20-foot dimension. There's like a 3-foot stone wall there, and so that kind of makes it difficult for those homeowners. So I said, we're filling it in anyway, and we can just stop the curb a little sooner than we were planning and just give them a 20-foot opening, which is the town's standard. So I think everybody's happy with that, and then there's really no, hopefully no complications.
So if it becomes a problem, I'll let you.
Sorry?
Yeah, if it becomes a problem, I'll let you and the select board know. So.
Okay. Thanks.
Right, so, just reviewing, the next on the project update is the commissioning agent. So, in all of our construction projects, we hire a third-party commissioning agent to, add some language into the specifications in the front end, but then also come out to site, when the project is nearing completion to confirm that the contractors have installed, the mechanical systems, electrical, plumbing systems as specified in the drawings. So it's just a third party that comes in. We have that through the MSBA at the middle school, and we do want to bring somebody on for the high school project. So we put a request for proposal out, and we had 4 submissions. I had them break it out per phase, because right now, we're just looking at the design phase. If the project moves forward at town meeting, then we would bring on this consultant for the rest of their work. But we would like to move forward with bringing on the commissioning agent for just the design phase. Fitzmyer and Tachi, they were the lowest bid. They have $5,000 for the design phase, and then if we ended up bringing them on for the full construction project, it would be $27,000. And then we also had 3 other bids that were significantly higher.
What did he miss?
It's not a big project. You know, we have the addition, but then we, you know, have some VRF systems in the building, and we went back and forth with them.
He's a quarter of everybody else, like.
Yeah, I think, you know, the other companies included commissioning some systems outside of the renovation that are already in the building, so we really made sure that we vetted his proposal, and we feel comfortable with moving forward with Fitzmyer and Tachi.
Have you worked with them before at all, Kate?
They were the commissioning agent on Sharon High School, so TAPE worked with them on their last project and feels comfortable with moving forward.
Chris, like you work with these guys, I mean, it's just such a big difference in the bids, I just feel like, wow, I mean, like, something's.
We also did Stoughton High School ourselves, Vertex with them also as the commissioning agent, so we've done a lot of projects with them. You know, as Kate said, the gym, there's not a lot of balancing in the gym itself, so there is a big discrepancy, but I think, you know, with Fitzmyer and Tachi and, you know, in our budget, I think we'll be able to work with them and hopefully no issues.
Wow, it's just shocking, the difference, that's all. I mean, you like to reward people who are being sharp with their pencils, but this is dramatic.
A question on their task for the design phase. Is that basically a kind of a QA task of the design, of the 100% design document set?
They will review that and also produce, like as Kate said, a specification that will be included in the project documents through an addendum that they would own.
Okay, all right. All right. Any other questions, comments, concerns? All right, I'll take a motion to accept the bid from Fitzmyer and Tachi for design and construction?
Only the design right now,
Only design.
for $5,000.
For $5,000.
So moved.
I'll second
Okay,
that.
second?
Second that.
All right, going around the table?
Yes.
Bridget, Jen, Joe? I'm a yes.
Yes?
Jeff?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Next one, qualifications.
Yep, so, you've seen this slide before, it's just a summary of the filed sub-bid GC Prequal Committee, who the members of the committee were. We met The qualifications came in on May 15th, and we just finished up our meetings about 10 days ago, or a week ago. And the Prequalification Committee has reviewed all of the filed sub-bid and GC submissions. And they met and vetted these out multiple times. We received a total of 124 statements of qualifications that were reviewed. So there was 10 general contractors that submitted and 114 trade contractors. These submission packages were broken up with all of the committee members. And about 14% of the submissions were not pre-qualified, which the average is about 10% typically. But Vertex attributes the percentage to the GC and some trade contractors who were reaching a little bit out of their comfort zone with the project types. This is the list that, and I can email it to you as well, so you have a copy that has these contractors a little bit bigger. But this is the list that the filed sub-bid GC pre-qual committee voted to move forward with for the Walpole High School project. So we're looking for a motion to pre-qualify the general and trade contractors as presented to bid the Walpole High School addition and renovation project as recommended by the Walpole High School Pre-Qualification Subcommittee, and authorize Vertex to distribute notification letters to all contractors who submitted a pre-qualification package by the deadline on May 15th.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah.
I so move.
Someone to move on?
I will move that, definitely.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Round the table, Bridget?
Yes.
Jen? Joe? Yes.
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
I have one question. I probably should have asked during the discussion. It's interesting that two of the major contractors for the junior high school don't show up on this list. Is that unusual?
Well, are you talking about Fontaine?
Fontaine?
They did not submit qualifications on the project.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And Griffin?
Griffin
Electric?
They're in.
are in here.
No, they're not.
Yeah, the bottom right.
Yep,
Oh,
Wayne
there it is.
Griffin
Yeah,
looked at
Wayne
the last
Griffin,
one.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
All right, sorry.
A little bigger.
Go by the first name, not the last
Yeah.
name. Okay,
I'll email the full sheet out to everybody, so you have it for record.
okay. All right.
I would like to just thank Vertex for spearheading the effort. I mean, you guys did a fantastic job, and Lorene did a great job.
This is an enormous job, and if you look at the number of specialties and then the number of folks that you had to pre-qualify, it's mind-boggling what you had to do in the last month, and we appreciate it all. Okay. Vendor invoice package? Okay.
I think just touching base on the community outreach, so just noting that we still have, we're gonna have a meeting in the fall, a webinar that has not been scheduled yet. That'll probably be in September, early September. And the base of that will be the project history presentation that we reviewed at the last PBC meeting. The May vendor invoice package includes the standard invoices. So the Vertex invoice and the TAPE invoice. So the total of all invoices are $125,905.75. Everybody received the full vendor invoice package. The invoices are just here for reference. So we're looking for a vote on $125,905.75.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Around the table?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Joe? Yes. Yes.
Yes,
Dino?
yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Other business? Anything we need to bring up? Okay. And just that one neighbor abutter issue, that we hope will be the only one.
Oh, it won't be. There'll be others.
Okay. Kate, next meeting?
Has not been scheduled, so we'll reach out. We're looking at the beginning of September. The GC bids come in the 23rd of August, so we'll have to take a look at those and we'll report back to everybody after we get all the bids in,
With good news.
with good news.
Okay, anything else at all? Then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor? Aye. Okay, thanks all. Enjoy the hot night and.
Happy summer.